Asher Thompson, thank you so much for taking the time to interview with me today. I want to describe to you something that I feel personally is an opportunity. I see that around America, there is a major deficiency when it comes to financial education, especially with the millennial generation. And, you know, you're a millennial, I'm a millennial. I basically want to pick your brain about what I believe is an opportunity to financially educate and assist millennials in terms of, you know, financial decision making. You know, I think this could be a viable business idea, possibly even for a millennial like myself to engage in, because of the fact that there's a lot of relatability and things in common that, you know, that I could have with some clients. So the first thing I want to ask you, Asher, is, you know, if there was a business that specialized, you know, millennials, serving millennials financially, consulting them, teaching them, kind of being a hand-holding partner, if you will, in big and important financial decisions and in retirement planning. You know, do you think this is a good idea? So my first question is, do you feel like this is a need? And if so, what's the nature of the need kind of in the realm that I'm describing here?
You want to end it and then, okay. Yeah, I definitely think that there's a need. It's obvious in my own life. But I think the need should be addressed a whole lot further than after high school, after even secondary education. Because once people get out there and I don't think you're going to address the issue very well unless you do it at the core of where everything's happening. So I think that there's not necessarily as much of a need after high school or college or something like that, but before, during college and high school, you might have.
And after, or just before and during?
I think before and during is your best bet. I'm not saying that there's not a market for it afterwards, but I think that you'd have more success going back to the core of the matter and maybe even getting into dealing with the school system, providing curriculum or having people go in and teach because, I mean, we learn a lot about math and economics and stuff like that, but we don't learn a lot about balancing checkbooks or writing checks or even how to get investing for sure,
right? Personal finance, yeah.
How to get a credit card, you know, how to organize your credit card. So I think you'd have more success starting and hitting the market earlier with the school system.
Great, that makes sense. So, you know, people from our generation, millennials, you know, when do you think they become aware that they have this need to gain this education, or even do they? And if they awaken to this kind of idea, you know, do they feel like they have this need a lot, or when it's crunch time? I mean, I'm interested, from your perspective, how often do you think they're realizing it, and how ubiquitous is it in their life?
Yeah. I definitely think that they start to realize it, but the reason I think you should hit the target market earlier is because it's not until they hit some sort of I can't do this crisis or some kind of financial instability whenever they finally realize that, oh, I've messed up and I don't know really how to run my financial life at all. So whenever they finally realize it is typically in a crunch situation after they could have prevented it by learning about it in school.
Do you think it bugs them after that? Do you think that it plagues them? Do you think that this is I'm personally dissatisfied with my schooling as far as finances go because I wasn't taught a lot of things. So when people awaken to this, so you're saying get them before they have a big rude awakening.
Yes.
Right. And you're saying, but if and when they do, then they're awakened and they're going to remain awakened. They're going to think about, okay.
Yeah. But at the same time, I think ethically we should start before. But that's
a good point.
But I think that from a business perspective, it's really kind of convenient to take advantage of the opportunity of illiterate millennials financially because they're going to hit that time of financial crisis, and if you hit that target market as a businessman to help them, it's going to turn a lot of revenue for you.
Okay, so now my third question is, how long do you feel like young people, so high schoolers, college age, think up to, say, 30 years old, so people between 15 and 30 years old, how long do you feel like this need has existed? Do you think it's more severe now? I want to get your thoughts there.
I would say for sure with the decline in the schooling curriculum and sort of, pardon my language, but dumbing down of America as it seems, it's getting a whole lot worse. And I mean, just the general populace is not getting
uneducated.
Yeah.
So do you think that the financial literacy of millennials today is, say, worse than Gen Xers or baby boomers at the same age?
I would say definitely, yeah.
Definitely. Okay. Okay. So, do you feel... so, how do you think millennials are currently trying to address this? Do you think they are at all? Like, and even the more motivated ones, how do you see, as a whole, the millennial generation addressing this need of financial literacy, education, confidence, ability to save, invest, retire comfortably? I'm interested in your thoughts there.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of them, honestly, I think the majority of millennials today do the only thing that they really know how to do, and they try to save up the money, but they don't have the intelligence. Well, they have the intelligence, but they haven't been taught how to put it away for certain things or put it in a place where it can grow. And a lot of them are just hanging on to it, and maybe they have foresight, but they're just trying to manage all of it themselves without putting it away or helping it grow, and they're just not spending it, and it's just sitting there when it could be doing other things.
Okay. So do you think they're satisfied with this kind of cash hoarding methodology of saving, building wealth? Do you think they're satisfied with that?
I think the majority of them are, just simply because they don't know anything else. But I don't think at all that it's the healthiest way to go about managing your money. And I think that that if they realize that, it's going to be a great place to target them and get them to understand that they could be doing a lot more with their money. They just haven't been taught. So
they're relatively satisfied, if not satisfied, but they're open-minded, and giving them this education strategically, intelligently is going to be something that could be well received. That's basically what you think.
Yeah, I absolutely think so.
Okay. Well, Asher, I appreciate your time, man. It's always great catching up, and wish you well, and thank you again.
Thank you. Praying for your coffee table.
So that was really interesting talking to Asher. I'll tell you what. The thing that surprised me the most was his idea to, infiltrate may have a negative connotation, but move into this kind of approach through traditional education. So I think that's interesting. In private schools, I see that there's a lot of money there. There's a whole lot of money, and maybe even with public schools, there could be some potential. It could be tricky, but my general takeaway is that he thinks that millennials are lacking in the same area in a similar way that I do, and that the ones who are saving are going to be finding a much better way to save and invest by, learning about the stock market, learning about personal finance, financial decisions, credit management, things of that nature. It seems like he thinks they would be really, really well receptive of the information. I'm a little bit troubled by the fact that he didn't comment kind of on maybe like a collaborative relationship, that you might think of between a personal financial advisor and a client. I didn't really see that connotation in the way that he thought the business would work. So that was a surprise. But the education idea is an interesting spin, and is something that could be packaged very lucratively as a product potentially. So kind of my thoughts there.